The dust had barely settled on Ground Zero in New York, but the drums of a new war were already beating in Washington. The target was not the mountains of Afghanistan, but the deserts of Iraq. January 29, 2002. President George W. Bush names Iraq as part of an axis of evil. February 5, 2003. Secretary of State Colin Powell sits before the UN Security Council. He holds up a small vial of white powder. He presents satellite photos of mobile bioweapons labs. The intelligence was definitive, he said. Saddam Hussein possessed weapons of mass destruction. WMDs. It was the ultimate ultimatum. Disarm or face destruction. Saddam remained defiant. The clock ran out. March 19, 2003. Operation Iraqi Freedom begins. The world watched live on CNN as shock and awe unfolded. In the first 48 hours, over 1,700 air sorties and 500 cruise missiles hammered Baghdad. The goal was psychological dominance, to paralyze the Iraqi command structure before they could even blink. On the ground, it was a race. The USV Corps and the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force charged north from Kuwait. This was not a World War II-style invasion. It was a lightning strike. They bypassed cities, ignored flanks, and drove straight for the heart. But nature had other plans. On March 25th, a massive shamal, a sandstorm, engulfed the battlefield. The sky turned orange. Visibility dropped to 0. The advance stalled. For 3 days, the most technologically advanced army in history was humbled by sand. Inside the sandstorm, the Fedayeen Saddam, paramilitary fighters in civilian clothes, struck. At Nasiriyah, huge ambushes took place. This was the first sign that this war would not be fought by conventional rules. The enemy wasn't just the army, it was the shadow in the window, the civilian car approaching too fast. April 5th, the Thunder Run. Colonel David Perkins of the 3rd Infantry Division made a bold call. Instead of laying siege to Baghdad, he sent a column of tanks straight into the city center. It was a high-risk gamble to prove that the regime had lost control. While Iraq's information minister, Qamdad Ali, claimed on TV that Americans were committing suicide at the gates, U.S. tanks were already parking at Saddam's presidential palace. April 9, 2003. Firdos Square. A US M88 recovery vehicle helped a crowd of Iraqi civilians pull down the massive bronze statue of Saddam Hussein. The dictator's metal face hit the pavement. In just 21 days, the regime had collapsed. Baghdad fell into anarchy. The National Museum was looted. Artifacts from the cradle of civilization vanished. Government buildings burned. The police disappeared. The war was technically won, but the peace was already lost. May 1st, President Bush landed on the USS Abraham Lincoln and declared the end of major combat operations behind a banner that read, "Mission accomplished." It was an image that history would judge cruelly, because the real war, the insurgent war, was just beginning. May 2003. L. Paul Bremer, head of the Coalition Provisional Authority, issued Order No. 1 and Order No. 2. Order No. 1. Debaathification. Firing all members of Saddam's party from government jobs. Order No. 2. Dissolving the Iraqi military. With the stroke of a pen, 400,000 armed, trained men were sent home with no job, no pay, and a lot of anger. they took their weapons with them. These men would become the backbone of the insurgency. The enemy evolved. They didn't fight with tanks, they fought with IEDs, improvised explosive devices, artillery shells buried in dirt roads, garage door openers used as triggers. The route Irish Road to the airport became the most dangerous highway in the world. The standard Humvee, with its canvas doors, was a death trap. Soldiers resorted to hillbilly armor, welding scrap metal to their vehicles just to survive the blast. 2004. Fallujah. 4 American private military contractors from Blackwater were ambushed, killed, and their bodies hung from a bridge over the Euphrates. The U.S. Marines were sent in to clear the city. Operation Phantom Fury in November 2004 became the bloodiest urban combat U.S. troops had seen since Hue City in Vietnam. House to house, room to room. The city was leveled, but the insurgency only spread. Then came the moral collapse. Images leaked from the Abu Ghraib prison showed U.S. personnel abusing Iraqi detainees. The photos shocked the world and became the greatest recruiting tool for terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda in Iraq, led by the brutal Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. Iraq descended into a sectarian civil war. Sunnis killed Shias. Shias killed Sunnis. Baghdad became a slaughterhouse of death squads. By 2006, victory seemed impossible. General David Petraeus took command with a new strategy: the surge. Instead of staying in large bases, troops moved into small outposts inside the neighborhoods. They stopped just killing the enemy and started protecting the population. Most importantly, they paid the Sunni tribes to stop fighting Americans and start fighting Al-Qaeda. It was called the Anbar Awakening. Violence dropped dramatically. By 2011, the United States withdrew its last combat troops. The cost was staggering. 4,431 American soldiers killed, over 32,000 wounded. Estimates of Iraqi deaths range from 150,000 to over 500,000. Trillions of dollars spent. But the story didn't end with the withdrawal. The power vacuum left behind, combined with the sectarian policies of the new Iraqi government, cracked the door open for a new monster. From the ashes of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, a group calling itself ISIS rose up, sweeping across the territory American blood had been spilled to secure. Today, the Iraq War remains a scar on the conscience of the 21st century. It began with intelligence that turned out to be false. It ended with a fragile peace that shattered almost immediately. It is a stark reminder that toppling a dictator is the easy part. Building a nation from the rubble is a burden that lasts for generations.